عاصف الأنين بداخلي كم مرة قد ذاق قلبي من أساه محن تمر وكم كرهت مصابها لكن رأيت الخير يسكب في أنا كم مرة قد ضقت من عظم البلاء.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. ما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. حياكم الله. Welcome to my channel again for another episode, which in contrast is going to be slightly different to my usual videos, which is, heavy with information, references and sources, presented on screen. But this is going to be like more of an historical lesson, whilst also highlighting the hypocrisies of the super salafis at the same time. And obviously the title of the video. Now, one thing you have to remember with super salafis and the madakhila and their likes is that they're very quick at shifting the goalpost. Okay, they're very quick at shifting the goalpost when it suits them. But nevertheless, let's get into this straight away. Now, in 1979, the Grand Mosque, Masjid Al-Haram in Mecca, was besieged by a group of people for about 2 weeks. Okay, for about 2 weeks, and this happened in November. So as you can see on screen, okay, you can see the Arab News present the individual in question, and his name, the man in question, is Juhayman Al-Otaybi. Juhayman Al-Otaybi, and we'll get to him later on in the video. So the air was heavy with fear how the 1979 attack on Mecca's Grand Mosque shook society. And it's got on the 20th of November 1979, Juhayman Al-Otaybi, a former member of the National Guard, led an attack on Mecca's Grand Mosque in a siege that lasted 2 weeks. Right smoke billows from the mosque, and then you can see the obviously attempt by the Saudi forces to alleviate the Hajji who were locked in it. And I'm going to show you a clip as well, so just bear with me. And then as you can see, you've got his gunmen that were arrested, which were belonging to the group led by Juhayman Al-Otaybi that stormed Mecca's Grand Mosque, and they were obviously taken and they were executed. So there's the article here. It says Al-Otaybi's followers who had taken positions in the minarets shot at bystanders and Saudi special forces if they came too close to the mosque's grounds. An estimated 100,000 worshippers were in the mosque that morning. The siege shocked Saudi society, which had been living a normal life and whose country was transforming itself from a desert nation to a sophisticated state. Born and raised in Mecca, housewife Fajr Al-Muhandis recalled the day she heard the news and the dreadful atmosphere in the city during those awful 2 weeks. She told Arab News, "I was a student in middle school, and just like every other day I went to school, just like all the school children did. Everyone went to their jobs, including those who worked in the Grand Mosque." She said, "We heard gunshots during the day, and that would have been the first sign something was wrong, but we were still oblivious to the fact that a terrorist attack," and it carries on. Interesting as well is that Juhayman Al-Otaybi, when he sieged the Grand Mosque, his brother-in-law, whose name was Muhammad Abdullah Al-Qahtani, apparently this individual was supposed to be the Mahdi, meaning the member of the Al-Bayt from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who will come during the end of times. So this individual was proclaimed to be the Mahdi, and they were forcing people to give bay'ah to this individual. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play a clip from a channel called Al-Ghadan. Forgive me for the little, there's a little bit of music, dramatic music in the background, but it's just about a 20-second video just to sort of highlight what happened. Have a listen.
قام بحركته ونجح في احتلال الحرم المكي مع عدد كبير من أنصاره، وأغلقوا الأبواب واحتجزوا من بالداخل من المصلين رهائن، مع إجبارهم على مبايعة صهره محمد بن عبد الله القحطاني باعتباره المهدي المنتظر. وعلى الفور قامت القوات السعودية بمحاصرة الحرم المكي من الخارج، وحاولت إنهاء الأمر بشكل سلمي، ولكن مع رفض جهيمان اقتحمت المسجد وقبضت عليه وتم إعدامه فيما بعد.
Also, an interesting fact as well, in 1987, I think it is, 2 years after I was born, there was a issue between pro-Ayatollah Khomeini followers where they took the Grand Mosque as under siege, and there was another obviously back and forth, and there was many people that died there as well. So I think about 400 people lost their lives or were martyred in the back and forth, meaning the exchange between. There was I think Pakistani forces as well were involved with that one, special forces, and various others as well that were involved. But nevertheless, just in under 10 years, Juhayman Al-Otaybi took the Grand Mosque hostage and violated the sanctuary, and also pro Ayatollah Khomeini followers. And this was after the so-called revolution that happened after they toppled the Shah. So now we've got that out of the way. Okay, we could expand on it more. We could go into it in depth. Obviously, what happened, what led to it, etc. Now, what we want to highlight is this. Now, the inconsistent of the super Salafis, they're always right. They can never be wrong, and they will always defend rulers, especially a certain set of rulers, at all costs. Distort, misquote, and present technicalities and shift the goalpost. You have to remember it's a plastic methodology. So wherever it suits them, they'll move it, and soon enough you'll see in my future video that I've got planned. Shaykh Al-Albani, rahmatullah alayhi, discusses this event and was asked a question by a certain questioner. As the super Salafis like to label everyone and anyone Khariji, innovator. It's their sort of holy grail, isn't it? It's similar to their true cross. So if you even try to shake that particular topic, all hell will break loose. So naturally you would think this individual, who besieged the Haram, who besieged the Grand Mosque in Mecca, took hostages, 2 weeks, I think about 250 people lost their lives. This person is no doubt a Khariji. This person will be labelled all sorts. You would think, though, wouldn't you, from the heads? Like I like to call, again, it's not being disrespectful, but it's obviously the three mashayikh that they look up to, which is similar to the Trinity. And Trinity, if you go to Cambridge University, is a group of 3 people or 3 persons. So that's what I mean. I don't mean it like they worship them. So what we're going to do now, we're going to listen to Shaykh Al-Albani, rahmatullah alayhi, discuss this. And what I'm going to do is, the translation won't be on screen, but what I'll do is I'll come back to you and I'll explain what they obviously said. Okay, so let's have a listen.
بالنسبة للجماعة التي ولدت في الحرم المكي بقيادة جهيمان العتيبي، فقد جاء في رسالة الولاء والبراء للأستاذ عبد الرحمن عبد الخالق وصفه لهذه الجماعة أنها من الخوارج. فما رأيكم في إطلاق هذا الوصف؟ وهل هم فعلا من الخوارج؟ لأن الدين رحمه الله قد ذكر فرقا في كتابه مجموع الفتاوى بين البغاة والخوارج، وإذا ما طبقت هذا الفرق يلاحظ أن هذه الجماعة من صنف البغاة ولا يصح إطلاق لفظ الخوارج عليهم والله أعلم.
So the question I asked, basically, to summarize, is that the group led by Juhayman Al-Otaybi, a scholar by the name of Abdurrahman Abdul Khaliq, rahmatullah alayhi, who passed away, he wrote a risala called Al-Wala wal-Bara, where he described the group, meaning Juhayman Al-Otaybi, who besieged the Haram, as Khawarij. And the question I asked Shaykh Al-Albani, rahmatullah alayhi, was, what is your opinion about obviously this group being described as Khawarij? Ibn Taymiyyah, rahmatullah alayhi, placed a condition in his book Majmu' al-Fatawa that differentiated between Bughat and Khawarij. So he obviously made a comment regarding that, and he goes, what's your opinion regarding this? Are they Khawarij or not? So first of all, they have been accused of being Khawarij by Shaykh Abdurrahman Abdul Khaliq, who's passed away, rahmatullah alayhi, who was a thorn in the throats of the Madakhil and the Super Salafis. So he obviously wrote a book or risala called Al-Wala wal-Bara and said that this group are from the Khawarij. And the question is asking Shaykh Al-Albani, what's your view on these people? Because of the Salafi rhetoric, and as you know, and as I said, they shift the goalpost, they're never wrong, they are the safe sect, and everyone else, again, are misguided, and don't worry, we got a surprise coming for you soon. But Shaykh Al-Albani would immediately label them as Khawarij. You'd be surprised. Let's have a listen.
لا شك أن هؤلاء ليسوا خوارج، لأن كلمة الخوارج تحمل في طواياها معنى خاصا
وطريقا تبنته هذه الطائفة خالفوا الشريعة والكتاب والسنة في كثير من النواحي، ولذلك أخذوا هذا الاسم الخوارج.
So Shaykh Al-Albani rahmatullah alayhi responds by saying, he says, فَلَا شَكَّ أَنَّ هَؤُلَاءِ لَيْسُوا خَوَارِجِ. That he said, without a shadow of a doubt, okay, this group, Juhayman Al-Otaybi, who besieged the Haram, who killed so many people, who rebelled against the ruler, okay, you've got to add that as well, they rebelled against the ruler, they're not Khawarij according to Shaykh Al-Albani. Think about that for a second, let that digest. He's negating that they're even from the Khawarij. We'll get into his statements later that he doesn't even label them as people of innovation. Subhanallah al-Azim, we're going to get to that. We're going to obviously present it. Which is obviously in opposition, okay, to the Sharia and the Book of Allah Azza wa Jalla and the Sunnah of the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in a lot of the matters which obviously they take and it's labeled, they are labeled as Khawarij. Okay, so just to touch on that before we continue to play it. So how is it possible, okay, that the rhetoric that we hear constantly from the super salafis and the madakhila, not just by labeling those Khawarij, and we're going to play a couple of, these super salafis, how they labeled me as Khariji, to show you that they have literally abused the term. And the super salafis, because of their direction and their emphasis on defending the Holy Grail at all cost, they have oppressed the believers by labeling anyone and everyone as Khariji loosely. Now what I mean anyone and everyone, I'm using that metaphorically, but what I mean is they're so persistent and so harsh and aggressive by using this label, which is very detrimental, and it's not a joke. People should be very, very cautious in using this label. So without going into further ado, let's carry on listening to the Shaykh.
ليس لمجرد أنهم يخرجون عن الإسلام، وإنما يخرجون عن نصوص الكتاب والشريعة. فليس هناك طائفة من أهل السنة يتبنون عقيدة أهل السنة 100%، لكنهم شبهوا فخرجوا على الحاكم المسلم، فيقال لهم ما كونهم خرجوا لا يقال لهم إنه من الخوارج، لأن كلمة الخوارج لها دلالة خاصة تحمل في خواياها انحرافات كثيرة وعديدة، غير انحراف الخروج عن طاعة الحاكم وإثارة الفتن بين الحكام وبين المسلمين.
So Shaykh Al-Albani rahmatullah alayhi says that it is not just for the mere fact that rebelling against a ruler makes you a Khariji. That's what I've been saying all along. Okay, that's what I've been saying all along. And we'll show you that Shaykh Al-Albani doesn't even label them as innovators. We'll get to that. And then he states that, but in fact they went against the text from the Kitab, meaning the Quran and the Sharia, and there isn't a group, okay, from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah that is basically built upon the Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah miyah by miyah, meaning 100%, okay? And then Shaykh Al-Albani rahmatullah alayhi said basically that they deviated and they rebelled against the Muslim ruler, and it is said to them, obviously, despite the fact that they rebelled, okay, so Shaykh Al-Albani rahmatullah alayhi mentioned and clearly stated that they rebelled, that you do not call them from the Khawarij, okay? Just focus on that for a second before I continue translating. He says that you don't say to them, he goes, providing the fact that they what? Kharaju, la yuqal lahum innahum min al-Khawarij. Because they rebel, they are not Khawarij, okay? They are not Khawarij. And he says that basically the Khawarij, it carries sort of a connotation like, which they have many deviations, okay, many issues, and in matters, a lot of matters, which is other than, okay, rebelling against the ruler. So just basically for the mere fact, okay, of going against the ruler or rebelling against the ruler, or even seeing it as, permissible based on certain conditions, okay, that doesn't make you a Khariji. Okay? Doesn't make you a Khariji. And again, we'll get to my future video later that will go into this in more depth. Okay? So let's carry on listening to Shaykh.
لا يمكن أن نعتبره أنه كان من الخوارج، أما أنه خرج لكن ما في تلازم بين كل خرج.
So Shaykh Al-Albani rahmatullah alayhi continues and says that the effects of this fitna between the ruler and the Muslims, and it says فَلَا شَكَّ أَنَّ جُهَيْمًا هَذَا, and despite the fact that there is no doubt rather that this Juhayman, that is not possible to consider him that he is from the Khawarij. Look at that. That Shaykh Al-Albani rahmatullah alayhi is saying that you don't even consider him from the Khawarij. Okay? He goes, you don't even consider him from the Khawarij. Now let this digest for a second. In our time, in our generation, in our specific location or region, we are finding that this term is applied on practically anyone that differs on a mas'ala which is the niyyah furu'iyya, and again we'll get to my response to a specific individual later. Again, they shift the goalposts, deviations, distortions. We'll get to that. This is not the time, but I'm just sort of letting you know that will be coming soon. That khuruj, just by the mere fact of having a position on it, doesn't label you a Khariji, or you shouldn't be labeled a Khariji. Let this digest for a second. Juhayman Al-Otaybi, with his group, took the Grand Mosque, okay, locked the doors, besieged it, and took the people as ransom. Opened fire from the minarets and attacked many people, killed many people as well. Went against the state as well, on top of that. He done khuruj, okay, he rebelled against the state. At the point of obviously taking the noble sanctuary as hostage, okay, for 2 weeks. Shaykh Al-Albani rahmatullah alayhi doesn't even consider him to be from the Khawarij. Think about that. Think about that and compare it or contrast it to the super salafis in the Madakhilah today. Wallah al-Azim, this is deception, deceit, dishonesty, the way they've abused this term. That Shaykh Al-Albani rahmatullah alayhi clarifies his position, which is exactly like mine, and which I've been persistent on for 2 years in a couple of months, that labeling someone a Khariji, you can only do that if the person carries the special characteristics of the Khawarij. And as Shaykh Al-Albani says, that it says لأن كلمة الخوارج لها دلالة الخاصة. He has a specific evidence for it, which is what? Not just restricted to just rebelling against the ruler. Now, if a person can astaghfirullah al-azim, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, save us from such fitna and preserve the Haram al-Makki or the Haramain or even Haram al-Sharif in al-Quds, al-Palestine. I'm saying that if he is not considered to even be from the Khawarij, and he actually rebelled against the state, and he also took up arms, besieged the Haram in Mecca, and all of the crimes he committed, and he's not considered to be from amongst the Khawarij, then how dare you super Salafis and other than you, Madakhila included, label me as a Khariji or label anyone else to be from the Khawarij. All we do is present the academic nuances in this mas'ala. And we're saying, look, you've been deceptive. Whilst we agree with you, okay, regarding this, that khuruj, avoid it. We're the first group of people that agree with you. But like Ali radiallahu anhu said, when the Khawarij were saying no judgment but Allah's judgment, what did Ali radiallahu anhu said? Kalimatul haqq yurid biha batil. A statement of truth, but what they want from it is falsehood. Exactly like you guys, who you label us as Khawarij, who you present their characteristics with Salafis have been getting away with for so long. We are the first people to say, avoid it, don't do it. It causes harms. If you haven't got the power, if you haven't got the means, don't do it. You understand? Don't do it. But yet we've been labelled from Al-Khawarij, labelled as Khariji, Innovators, etc. And Juhayman Al-Otaybi, alongside his group, who went out, who did rebel with arms and weapons, took the Grand Mosque in Mecca and besieged it for 2 weeks, attacked the people. The Musallin were trapped inside, okay, forced to give bay'ah, to their Mahdi, okay? And then Shaykh Al-Albani rahmatullah alayhi saying they're not even from the Khawarij. So explain to me and to the Muslims, how have you been getting away with this for so long? And the Salafis, or the moderate Salafis, if you want to call them that, if there is anyone that can be really, classified with such terms, where have you been to highlight these fatwa of Shaykh Al-Albani rahmatullah alayhi? Where was your voice? Where was your position? Where was your justice to us and those who have been oppressed by the super Salafis in the Madakhila? It's just absolutely crazy that I have to come out and defend my position and defend the believers who have been unjustly labelled and provoked with such disrespect. Okay, let's listen to Shaykh Al-Albani.
هؤلاء الجماعة الذين خرجوا وأثاروا فتنة الحرم المكي، وهم بلا شك في ذلك كانوا مخطئين أشد الخطأ، ما خرجوا في شيء آخر ولا تبنوا عقيدة الخوارج.
Subhanallah, and you really need to pay attention to his words. He says, فَهَؤُلَاءِ الْجَمَاعَةِ, he goes, this particular group, الَّذِينَ خَرَجُوا, and he confirms that they rebelled, the ones that rebelled. وَأَثَارُوا فِتْنَةِ الْحَرَمِ الْمَكِّي, and they, caused strife in the Haram al-Makki. وَهُمْ بِلَا شَكْ فِي ذَلِكَ كَانُوا مُخْطِئِينَ أَشَدَّ الْخَطَأِ. That he says that those who obviously stirred strife, etc., in the Haram al-Makki, and they, without a shadow of a doubt, in this particular matter, are mistaken with a severe mistake. Notice, he hasn't made tabdi' of them. He says they are mistaken with a grave mistake. Worst possible things, if we really want to look at it from a super Salafi lens, that can possibly happen on planet Earth for a super Salafi. One is khuruj. Well, one is, you could say number one is besieging Al-Haram al-Makki, the noble sanctuary. Again, it's a joint one for the super Salafis. But for obviously us, number one would be the Haram al-Makki being violated, being besieged, being, taken, and its holiness being disrespected. That's number one. Number two is that on top of that, they rebelled against the ruler, and then what they did was they took the pilgrims as hostage. Okay, so two major crimes. Shaykh Al-Albani rahmatullah alayhi did not make tabdi' of them, not at all, but rather he says they're mistaken. For the super Salafis that are amongst our circle, well, I wouldn't be nowhere near them, but those who are around us in our cities, neighborhoods, areas, etc. This will be an automatic tabdi' license or ticket, and they will be called the dogs of the hellfire. They will be called X, Y, and Z. But Shaykh Al-Albani rahmatullah says they're just mistaken. So now we need to ask yourself: are you really following the imams that you claim to hold in high regard? What would you do? But I don't want to say anymore. I'll get myself into trouble. But are you really upon their understanding, or is it, move the goalposts as you please? Plastic, isn't it? Methodology is plastic. Just bend it as you want. Really and truly, are you upon their methodology and their understanding? Because Shaykh Al-Albani rahmatullah alayhi's stance is clear that crime which was committed doesn't label a person a mubtadi'ah for doing so, because a person who obviously rebels against the ruler doesn't make him from the Khawarij. And as I said before, they are mukhti'in, they are mistaken. Even I would say that they are heavily mistaken. Taking the words direct from Shaykh Al-Albani, I can't put it in any eloquent way. They made a mistake, and what did he say? Ashadd al-khata, a severe mistake. So to my brothers and sisters who are watching, let's ignore the super Salafis for now. Don't you think that they have now taken advantage and have abused terminologies and have put Muslims in such a position with their harshness and their lack of consideration for the correct Islamic stances, classical traditional stances, and they shift and move the goalposts as they please, or they'll, justify their stances because they've got no humility. They're conceited bunch of people that no matter what you present, no matter what you give them as evidence or proof, they'll wiggle their way out of it with their little technicality and their own little, made up. Don't worry, we'll get to the video. They literally make stuff up as they go along, or they take things out of context. That's my issue with the super salafis in the madakhil.
ما يتعلق مثلا بتكفير المذنب مرتكب الكبيرة، ما تبنى عقيدة الخوارج التي تقول بأن الله لا يراه يوم القيامة في الآخرة، وإنما بغير كيف وتشبيه.
So he mentions that obviously those that rebelled were not obviously upon the creed, and he mentions clearly ولا تبنوا عقيدة الخوارج. Okay, فيما يتعلق مثلا بتكفير المذنب ومرتكب الكبيرة. Okay, so he mentions obviously what I was saying all along, that is تعلق, okay, or يتعلق with the aqidah of the Khawarij. So again, I'm just getting really, really annoyed with decades worth of, insults and oppression and injustices committed by the super salafis in the Madakhila. And when I say injustices, I'll highlight that. Injustices meaning that none of them have come forward and reiterated what I've been saying, or what others have been saying, not just myself, what others have been saying. Now you can't just label us Khawarij for having a position, for crying out loud. It has to be يتعلق مثل بتكفير المذنب ومرتكب الكبيرة. If you connect it to the takfir, and then you got every right to, we'll agree with you, we'll even, release videos, whoever holds these views, and will say, Khawarij, no problem. But without that, you guys be labeling people Khawarij. And Shaykh Al-Albani, affirms that. Subhanallah al-Azim. And then he mentions about those who deny that we will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment and in the akhirah. So let's carry on.
وضرب من مثال تسمية خوارج في مبالغة الطعن في هؤلاء، وحسبهم أنهم بغوا واعتدوا في هذا الخروج وكانوا سببا لسفك دماء بريئة من كل من المسلمين الذين كانوا في ذات الحرم مهاجمين أو مدافعين أو مسالمين. هذا رأيي.
So Shaykh Al-Albani ends off by saying, Subhanallah al-Azim, he says, so labeling them Khawarij is an exaggeration. Okay? And then he carries on by saying that they, basically transgressed and in this khuruj, and this has obviously resulted in spilling of blood of the innocent from the Muslimin who were in the Masjid Al-Haram, from the Muhajirin and those who were defending it, or from the Muslimin. So that's the point really of this particular video, is to show the clear transgressions by the super Salafis of our time, and to highlight and to stress a person or a group of people that take the noble sanctuary as hostage, or besiege the noble sanctuary and take the Musallin as hostages, or the pilgrims as hostages, and spill blood inside the Haram al-Makki and cause so much corruption and so much fasad and so much problems. They're not Khawarij according to Shaykh Al-Albani. But yet a person can just present books and say, these are the views from the classical scholars, but I'm a Khawariji and I'm, dog of the hellfire, etc., or everyone else that they've labelled. So what I want to do now is, now that I've presented that, I'm going to show you those that are prevalent in online when they were speaking about myself, what they've called me. Okay, so have a listen.
Now, before we go into the statement and I respond to what he's trying to say, you need to understand the argument he's trying to formulate. Remember earlier he said that the issue of the Khawarij is that it's an issue only in their misunderstanding of the issues of Iman. And based upon that, he's saying, I am not a Khariji, neither is this view that I'm bringing a view of the Khawarij. What is the view? That you can go and rebel against the leader. That you can go and rebel against the leader. So, inshallah ta'ala, what I'm going to do is I'm going to prove to you now, from the statements of the Salaf, that actually, this is indeed a view. In fact, it is the correct view. In fact, it's ijma', it's consensus, as I'm going to show you inshallah ta'ala, that if you go against the Imam, you are a Khariji. This is the view of the Khawarij.
So now this general, now we're going to go in details. His doubts, first of all, he's not Khariji because he doesn't not make takfir on what? On Sahib al-Kabira. Naam, miskin, you don't know. You haven't studied clearly. Naam. So, you still Khariji even if you don't make takfir on Sahib al-Kabira.
Disrespect. And it's malicious. It's contempt. It's arrogance. It's oppression. This is oppression. Labeling a person a Khariji, or even saying that, you're still Khariji even if you don't make takfir. But Shaykh Al-Albani clearly states that the Khawarij have a characteristic which is that they make takfir. But I've been labelled a Khariji and I've been labelled all sorts over the course of 2 years. So this is clearly malicious, and we need to take a stand. We need to be forceful in our responses, and you'll see my video that I've got coming, that information that we present, and they'll make up stuff, create conditions that no one before them have said, and build their understanding and present their positions on these so-called conditions that no one before him has proceeded. And you'll see it's just absolutely ridiculous. That is why, with my experience with dealing with these group of people, they're not genuine, they're not sincere. Honestly, they're not sincere. And it doesn't matter whether they take our evidences or not, or justify their stance by misquoting other texts and, always have an answer for everything. Because you notice they've got an answer for everything. They've got an answer. Don't worry about it. No matter what you present, they've got an answer. You notice, my position is that there's a valid difference of opinion. Khalas. So I'm saying, again, what I said before, Ali the answer to the Khawarij, okay, whose traits that you do have, traits, I didn't say you are one. Kalimatul haq, yurid biha batil, statement of truth. That's exactly what they are doing. What they're saying in terms of not doing khuruj, we agree with. It's a statement of truth. But what they want from it is falsehood. What they are promoting, the propaganda that they're promoting, and who they are, subservient slaves to, they obviously really need to ponder within themselves that, are you actually giving izzah and glory to Islam? Really and truly ask yourself that question. Because you're not following your mashayikh that you claim to follow. You're not really following them, let's be honest. You're not. Because it's clear what I just presented. And to summarize, this man, Juhayman Al-Otaybi, and his group besieged the Haram. They rebelled against the ruler. Okay? 2 major crimes. And yet Shaykh Al-Albani didn't even label them as innovators. Never mind call them Khawarij, and said that they are mistaken. Ashadd al-khata. Severe mistake. This is what we hold. Even hasha lillah. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve the Haram. And those in Mecca and Medina and Al-Quds, preserve them from all evil and preserve their imans and keep them on the straight path, and ourselves, and as well as the Muslimin around the world. We would be firm if anyone tried to attempt, again, we pray that this never happens again. It happened in 1987 with the back and forth with the Ayatollah Khomeini supporters. But just say, God forbid anyone that we heard of was considering doing this. We would obviously persuade them not to do it. We would advise them. We would give them the information from the Quran and the Sunnah to say it's a grave matter, it's a major sin, etc. But I wouldn't label such a person an innovator. You understand what I mean? I would not even dare go down that route. You're an innovator, you're a Khariji, you're this. No. And this is in reality where we need to be forceful now. That there's a momentum growing, okay? And we are pushing such information out there that wasn't translated in the English language to show the nuances of this particular matter. It's their holy grail. It's their, look, I would go as far as saying as Khuruj and Tabdi' and rulers, it's their religion. And I'm not saying the whole religion, but I'm saying it plays a major part. Honestly, this matter is what, gives them that extra kick. It's the central nerve. It's the heart beats. That's their heartbeat, honestly. So all I want to say in closing is that our stance is clear, and you'll see my response to a said individual to show you that this is, shocking to the lengths that they go, the distortions that they come out with, disregard for scholarly statements like he's nothing. And this man, thinks himself, like he's self-amazed with himself, honestly. Self-amazed with himself, and we'll show you that the amount of times that this individual makes up stuff as he goes along and distorts stuff and contradicts himself, it's just like you're never gonna ever be on an even playing field with these people. So I'll finish off by saying, Ramadan's around the corner. I will definitely not be active during Ramadan. Depending on when I finish this script, I've still got, obviously, I don't want to say how much I need to watch, but I've still got a fair few, clips to watch. And then thereafter, the script will be ready and we will respond. And then hopefully by Ramadan, before Ramadan, if not before Ramadan, but if I do respond during Ramadan, it will be one video. And then after that, I won't respond during the whole month because I want to see closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. I haven't had, like I said, a couple of years ago when this was all going on, that the Ramadan I don't want to waste like I did that time. And I made an improvement. The Ramadan just gone, I didn't, weren't recording, weren't doing nothing, and that's why I want to plan on doing this Ramadan as well. I don't want to get involved. And to be honest, Ramadan I want it to be better than it was last year, and I want to make it count. And I really want to improve my connection with Allah Azza wa Jal, strengthen my connection to Him, increase my iman and do whatever is possible, because this is not getting us anywhere. And when I respond, they'll come back with another, and there'll be another person, I'm sure, that would say, oh, Khuruj, it won't stop. So inshallah I will move on from this. Our information is out there. We've done our bit. The whole world knows that our position is that this matter is a matter of khilaf. There's a valid ikhtilaf in it, and we're not calling for khuruj, but yet there's a valid ikhtilaf, and we keep saying it no matter how much technicalities, distortions and stuff you make up as you go along and shift the goalpost. So take care of yourselves. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad.
كم مرة عصف الأنين بداخلي، كم مرة قد ذاق قلبي من أساه، محن تمر وكم كرهت مصابها، لكن رأيت الخير يسكب في أنا. كم مرة قد ضقت من عظم البلاء، بشر وشيطان يحاصرني أباه. كم مرة قد أظلم الدرب ضحى، وتحدر الدمع وضاقت بي رؤى. كم مرة عصفت الأنين بداخلي، كم مرة قد ذاق قلبي من أساه، محن تمر وكم كرهت